Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking about some more Mortal Kombat today. But today we are probably going to be looking at arguably the most popular game in the series, Mortal Kombat 11. I still remember the hype and build-up for this game. The Game Awards reveal was absolutely crazy, and the trailer that followed was also insane, and then the game came out and the rest was history. But how do I feel about the game all these years later? Let's find out. Starting off with the gameplay, I still enjoy it all these years later, but I would be lying if I said I didn't have some issues with it. Let me start off with my negatives before getting into my positives. The biggest thing that holds this game back for me is probably the way combos work. Compared to a lot of other MK games, I feel like this one just doesn't have as much combo variety, and you can't really do as much as you would like with the combos in this game, and I feel that a lot of the time you're just kind of doing the same strings over and over again, and it's just not that fun to me. Another thing that brings this game down for me is how slow-paced it is, especially compared to something like MKX, which literally was the previous game before this. I'm not saying that the game feels sluggish or that it feels bad to control or anything, but you notice how much slower matches are compared to previous MK games. And I feel like they were trying to go for a more strategic and maybe a little bit more of a calm, experience, and that's why the gameplay is so slow, but it's just not ideal. I think MK is much better when it's fast and fluid, but that's just me personally. I know some people that really liked how slow-paced this game was because it let them think more about what they were going to do next in the match, but I just don't really see the appeal. Despite that though, I still think this game is very fun to play. Characters feel satisfying to control, hits feel satisfying to land, and despite the lack of variety, the combos that you can get are pretty fun to pull off. Another thing I really want to praise is the visuals, because goddamn, the graphics are fucking amazing in this game. Like, I'm sorry, this was made in Unreal Engine free. They pushed the limits of that engine, and it looks this good, even still to this day. That's just insane to me. The fact that this game wasn't even made in Unreal Engine 4 just surprises me. Like, this game looks so good, and I don't know how they managed to do it. I also really enjoyed the roster, despite there being some characters that I just wish made the cut. Ermac. However, what we did get was truly special, especially considering they brought back fan favorites like Nightwolf and Sindel. Also, this game was just amazing when it came to the guest characters, especially since you had Spawn and the Joker and even RoboCop. Even with the newest Mortal Kombat out, I still think MK11 somehow did guest characters just a little bit better. Now it's time to talk about the story because there is a lot to unpack here. It picks up right after MKX, showing us what Raiden has been doing this whole time, and man, I absolutely love the Dark Raiden storyline. Getting to see his crusade, all for the protection of Earthrealm, was truly something awesome, and I think it's easily one of the coolest parts of the story. MK11 also introduced a lot of new characters and lore, and while I did enjoy some of this lore, it does go on to affect the rest of the MK games for the future, for better or for worse. Mostly for worse, I'm sorry. Getting into the time travel elements of the game, I think it was actually pretty good for the most part. Seeing these older versions of the characters interact with their present selves was really cool to see, and for the most part, the time travel in this game does make sense. I also really enjoyed Kronika as a villain. She's a very terrifying force, and she's pretty much the Thanos of this game. And I'm not gonna lie, while I do think she's a pretty well-written villain, the one thing I hate about this character is the fact that they establish that the Titans, which have never been brought up before, is what Kronika is, by the way, she's a Titan, is more powerful than an Elder God. When it was previously established that Elder Gods and the One Being were the most powerful things in the Mortal Kombat universe, and now we have to worry about these time-traveling Titans. That's the main issue I have with her character, and part of the reason why I think Mortal Kombat lore was heavily affected by this game. It's not like she's some overpowered character with no motivations. She is the mother of Shinnok, which explains why she's so against Raiden, because Raiden literally kills Shinnok, which is her son, despite him literally being an absolute menace to society. I guess she just loves her son. He can do no wrong. I don't know. She's also a master manipulator, and she gets everyone to do what she wants simply by promising them a new timeline with whatever they desire, because, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she has the Hourglass, which is pretty much the Infinity Gauntlet, but for Mortal Kombat. With this one item, you can effectively create, rewrite, and destroy entire timelines. Pretty powerful stuff, I know. And unfortunately, this would be abused in later games. Enough about that though. Something I actually do really like about the story is the bond and friendship between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. This was set up in MKX, and I think their chapter is probably my favorite part of the entire story mode. Seeing these characters united as brothers instead of foe and actually fighting side by side was one of the coolest things Mortal Kombat has ever done. I do have to mention one of the new characters they introduced was a playable Elder God. Now I know what you're thinking, we can finally play as one of the Elder Gods? That sounds so cool, but it's Cetrion. For a playable Elder God, she is probably one of the worst characters in the series in my own personal opinion. She's super whiny, she's a mama's girl, she's not fun to play as, and despite being an Elder God, she really isn't that strong. The Kombat Kids also make their return from MKX, but Takeda and Kung Jin are noticeably absent, and instead the game decides to focus on Jackie and Cassie. And while I do love the character development they get, and they're also very fun to play as in this game, it is kind of a shame that the other Kombat Kids didn't get the spotlight, but it does kind of make sense because of how grand and big scale the story was. I know I have made a ton of endgame comparisons, but that's pretty much what this game's story was. It was effectively Avengers Endgame, but for the Mortal Kombat franchise. And while I do like the story of MK11, I think it is a very good Mortal Kombat story, there are so many things holding it back from being the best Mortal Kombat story. There's just so many questionable character decisions, so many strange deaths. D'Vorah killing Scorpion, I'll still never understand why they did that. But overall, I would say that MK11 has a decent story. There's also the Aftermath DLC, which gives us more story and sets up the next game, and I enjoyed it. It was cool seeing Shang Tsung be the main villain again, especially since he is voiced by the legendary Terry Takawa. I gotta admit though, I really hate and loathe the character assassination of Sindel and Shao Kahn. It needs to be studied how bad their characterization is in this game. But let's not end the video on a negative note. Let me get into a few more positives before ending the video. The customization in this game was absolutely peak. There are so many different types of skins, a lot of different types of gear you can equip on your character, and I feel like you can truly create the most unique and fun look for all of these classic characters that we've been with throughout this franchise. MK11 also had the Crypt. The Crypt is the game mode where you unlock all of the goodies and cosmetics seen within the Mortal Kombat games. But the cool thing about MK11's Crypt is the fact that it almost felt like an entirely separate game within a game. For one, it was open world and there was so much to do and explore, and it also seemed to have its own set of lore, which was really interesting. This was easily the best the Crypt has ever been, and I would love to see something like this again in the future. The fatalities were mostly good in this game, but I will admit it was kind of a mixed bag when it came to a lot of the fatalities, at least for me personally. We also saw the return of friendships, and I'm genuinely so happy they did this. With that being said, those were just my thoughts on MK11. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel if you want to see me talk more about Mortal Kombat or any other games I decide to cover. I also have a second channel that you can subscribe to if you want to see even more from me. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in whatever my next project ends up being.